And so, ladies and gentlemen, on the macroeconomic front, you all can attest to the efforts the government has made. And so if we say we have come around, then we really mean it. We are not deceiving the people of Ghana. A lot has been done, and the economy has really turned around. And we are going to even do better and better and better in the years ahead. Now let me brief you, update you on the debt restructuring, which is one of the major achievements this government has made. We decided to restructure our debts because it was one of the requirements by the IMF. We started with the domestic debt exchange program. The domestic debt exchange program was a very successful program, achieving 95% participation. And on this note, I would like to appeal to the people of Ghana to forgive us. To forgive us. It is never the intention of any government to impose hardships on its people. More so, the MPP government that has demonstrated that we want to reduce the burden of the Ghanaian people. And I will show why this government has, from the beginning, tried to reduce the burden of the Ghanaian people. That same government cannot impose hardships on the same people. It was a necessary, very important decision at the time that if we avoided it, our economy will not recover such as it has recovered today. The decisions we made and all the support you gave us, the people of Ghana, during the DDEP has contributed largely to the recovery our economy is seeing today. And this is why I want to appeal to you to forgive us. But also to thank you, the people of Ghana, to thank you on behalf of the president for the sacrifices, for the efforts that you all have made in participating in the domestic debt exchange program that saved our economy. And so I thank you very much for that support you gave to the government.
People whose money is in your hand, and you're going to tell them, okay, your money is in my hand, and this is how you're going to get it back. It's rude, it's wicked, it's unlawful, it's not right. It lacks good faith, it lacks humanity, because, we are sitting here because we are well enough to come. Do you know how many people are languishing at home? Do you know how many people who are not even, they are in such a bad state, they are not even aware of what's going on, but it's their investments that have been keeping them alive.
Right. And there's this retiree who spoke to me about this ahead of today, that, Chief, I had about X amount in the bank. And after all of these, the value of that money has reduced to less than half. So what do you mean by apology? What are you guys discussing? What's the essence of the apology? Whatever has happened, my wealth has been reduced by half. And it's not easy. And if you have followed so far, Kweku Kwating, Member of Parliament, who many Ghanaians are warming up to for the statement he issued and some of the things that he's faced. And people are saying he's suffering within his own party just because he wants to be truthful and he wants to demonstrate that he's a genuine politician. He says to break the eighth, we must first break that norm by acknowledging the past and present failures of the political class to provide the kind of quality leadership required to avert the mess in which we find our country today. Then Ken Ejapon said, let's go out there with humility, apologize to Ghanaians, and admit your mistakes before you can convince anybody to vote for you. If we ignore the hardships Ghanaians are going through, they will never accept what we are saying. Nyaho Tamaklo, doctor, says the president, as Nkrumah used to do years ago, he should come out with a dawn broadcast, as Nkrumah did for all Ghanaians to listen to his apology. Maybe that might turn the minds of the people. Professor Peter Korte, director of ISE, says, I admire his candidness and willingness to apologize. I mean, we are in this country, how many politicians or leaders have we seen apologizing when something goes wrong? Then Dr. Edu Anani Entry, convener of the Pensioners Bondholders Forum, says, apologize, yes, fine, people will accept it, but it would solve the problem that this action, that once action has created. Will it solve the problem that the actions have created? You can't talk about having improved things when invested funds are still locked up in this financial markets. Professor Bokwin.
Good morning.
You have been expecting this. You always said that they should accept some of the wrong things they are doing and they should apologize and so on and so forth. So here you are.
Yeah, and it's not sufficient. At least I'm happy, baseline, that the Honorable Minister of Finance, and also with his background from CSOs, I'm sure he can resonate with the sentiments at the base level. But I've been wondering whether this apology is a government position, a party position, or an individual position.
You know, it's actually not his first. When he was delivering the statement before Parliament,
yes,
he says something close to an apology for the hardship.
Yes. That's I'm asking whether it's an individual thing. Is it a government position, a party position that has gone through and is manifesting across the board? Would this apology have been made if 2024 election wasn't in sight? What is the end game? Is it really to sympathize with Ghanaians, or probably to the extent that if it is offered, it will inure to their political pursuit or whatever? But it doesn't take away the fact that so much hardship, I admit that level of acknowledgement, but so much hardship has been imposed on Ghanaians, which clearly could have been avoided. I'm saying that could have been avoided because from the third quarter of 2021, the data was clear where we're heading towards. And all that government needed to do was to take proactive steps. And that was actually what Kenya did. Okay, we didn't do that. And then if you look at the approach that government adopted in the restructuring of the domestic debt, clearly didn't have a human face and all of that. So really, Honorable Minister, yes, you have made this apology, but I want to believe that it's not enough. And the reason I said, I asked whether this was a government position. If truly this was a government position and government has reflected on this carefully, then probably this will come with certain practical steps that government would take.
On the back of what you have said, two messages. Haj Suleimana says, is the apology based on admission of faults? You have just pointed out the fault. No, I think it is political rather than sincere. Nee says, how can a genuine apology claim that the DDEP and its related international cousins are an achievement where it was recklessly caused.
Yes. And the manner in which it was done clearly takes a lot away from this humility. And to the extent that the current Minister of Finance wasn't really the architect behind this DDP and all of that, probably we can say that, well, it's good for him to say so. That is what I'm saying, that we said this long ago, that probably the president should have led by example. There were external factors, but of course, there were also pre-existing fiscal vulnerabilities that we brought upon ourselves. And look, Samson, if you go into the details and you see the extent to which we actually abused the COVID and the fiscal deficit that Ghana recorded in 2020, it was one of the highest in the whole of Africa. And Ghana couldn't recover from that excess, which took us to the 17th IMF supported program. But of course, we can also see a similar thing, something in 2012. The fiscal deficit we recorded in 2012, which was also an election year, and also happened during the energy sector crisis. The fiscal deficit was more than 11%. Together with the current account deficit, something Ghana couldn't recover from the 2012 election excesses, which took us to the 16th IMF supported program. So you will see that across the two main political parties, the way we manage our economy, and especially with the slightest shocks, clearly tells us that we have not been able to build sufficient resilience. And a lot of the things that we have done over the years, in the last 25 years or so, looking at the data, we have supported our economic resilience with more propaganda. So it takes shocks of this magnitude to actually reveal the reality. So I want to believe that this apology is not properly motivated. That's my considered view. And also, it should reflect a government position. It should reflect a party position.
He's a Minister of Finance, so...
Yeah, I don't think it reflects a government position. The reason I'm saying so is that if you look at even the individuals within the MPP who have been pushing for this, it's a clear case that this is something that should have been done or should be done, and we think it should be done. So they are pushing more for it, and I think that that is what I would say. And I want to believe that this doesn't... Look, if you look at more than 60% of the sufferings Ghanaians are going through right now, clearly avoidable.
Clearly avoidable.
Clearly avoidable. Clearly avoidable. You can talk, and to the extent that we have not been bold enough to admit that this was self-imposed. Of course, we had external shocks. The tendency to blame everything on external shocks clearly doesn't tell me that this apology is genuine.
Gary, would you say this apology is from the state, and party also embraces it? It's not a personal...
It cannot be a personal apology. The Minister of State, the Minister of Finance, the Minister responsible for the finance of our country, he represents the President, he has the mandate of the President to speak, so of course he lives in the country, and we all live in the country. We all know what the DDEP has done. We all know the hardships that we are all going through on a day-by-day basis. We all go to the markets to go and buy things. I think you want to do a social and a reflection. And you take the view that, well, some hardship, which though you will not have wished to bring it upon your people deliberately as occasion, it is genuine that you have to come out openly to say, you are sorry. And like Professor Kote said, a lot of politicians will never say sorry.
Okay.
They will never, even when they are wrong, they will still insist that they are right. They will still insist that they are right. So when you see a politician, a senior government official, looking at the overall circumstances of the matter and proffering an apology, clearly should tell you that it's a sincere apology. And I'm sure that he has also, gone through all the paperwork and everything since he assumed office at the ministry. And he's seen the numbers and the figures there.
All right.
And the briefing cabinet on everything.
So what do you say to those who say, and kindly speak up a bit for me, that the same government arrogantly refused, rejected, bastardized all well-intentioned feedback, warnings, suggestions? The president retained Ken Ofori-Atta and subsequently elevated him. Government owes everyone an unprecedented, owes everyone in unprecedented proportions, even as we default on local and foreign statutory payments. Ministers resigning, being replaced, deputies being replaced instead of reducing the size of government.
The apology has been perfect, Samson. It's a sincere apology, and I think we should be prospective rather than going backwards. You know, if something you don't do a soul searching within yourself, you cannot say that you want to apologize. You cannot. Look, even as Catholics, we do confession. And you and I are Catholics, and Honorable Mr. Hussein, I don't know about you anyway. You know, when you
I'm a Christian.
Okay, fine. You know, we do confession. At the point in time, you go to see the Catholic priest and say, look, you want to confess your sins and whatever it is. If you yourself do a holistic analysis of whatever has transpired, and you take the view, there are certain things that have happened in the country, do unintentional consequences of avocation, the DDEP. Clearly, you must, you know, hit the humble pie and say, well, it was unintended. We apologize. We'll do better.
So what are you apologizing for? You apologize for some wrong.
The unintended consequences and hardship brought upon Ghanaians. That is the apology for.
The consequences,
no government,
consequences resulting from actions that could have been avoided to avoid the consequence.
Well, it's all part of it.
So it's an admission of guilt.
It's all part of it. It's all part of it. You see, as I'm telling you, if you talk to the economists, they will give you the numbers and the figures and all those things. I'm not an economist. That's why my senior brother here is saying that today on this particular subject we are going to speak on the same strength and on the same path. He's not going to depart from what I'm saying. And the simple truth is that if you are going and doing something that you think that what you are doing as a government, to some extent, has brought unintended hardships on the people, which we are all in the country, which we all see. There were some external shocks and everything. I think you should be bold to say, well, I think that on this call, we are sorry, we apologize.
Okay.
And let's make progress.
Dr. Edouard Naniantwi, thank you very much. How do you process this apology? You and your members who, in your call it your old age, if you pardon me, including the former CJ, that you did everything you were not listening to. You had to go into the sun at the finance ministry and so on. How do you guys process this apology?
Well, thank you, Samson. I think I have said it on several occasions after the apology has been rendered. And I have said that traditionally and culturally, we want people who have done wrong against their friends and neighbors to apologize. And that's why sometimes we drag you to the chief's palace to complain and give you the opportunity to apologize. So traditionally and culturally, apologizing is an acceptable behavior that we encourage people to do. But it's that apology is good and must be rendered when it is needed. Our elders have a saying in Akan, that kuse kuse, inkum ikru, which literally means sorry, does not heal a sore that your action has caused your brother. So if you tell me, I'm sorry, that sorry, I'm sorry, will not heal the wounds or the pains that your action has inflicted on me. And that is why what policymakers should be learning from, that you don't do what you think is right when you should have considered the effect of your colleagues or the citizens.
It doesn't kill the pain, but it does assuage it, does it not?
Well, yes, if I slap you today and tomorrow I come and say, I'm sorry, there's a sorry takes the slap that I gave you. If there are any pains you are suffering from the slapping, you will still be suffering. So we should not do what is not right and later on come and apologize because apology is the right thing. When we say so many things, that do it this way, don't do it that way. If the government has listened to the suggestions that we gave, we wouldn't have found the elderly going to picket, something that has never happened in this country. I wrote the minister a letter in January, early January, and said, don't do it this way. And if the minister has listened to me and called me, that come and let's discuss this thing that you are saying, it wouldn't have ended here. It would have come out with a program that would be acceptable by all. My view initially was that I didn't want any individual to be in this scheme of things. But if we want individuals to be in, we could have done something that a cap, to mitigate the effect of the vulnerables. That if you have so much in bonds, we will restructure above this level so that you leave out, somebody has 100,000, 50,000, and you are going to restructure it and say, your 50,000, I'm going to give it to you in the next 12 years, breaking down to 12 pieces, giving to you every year until 12 years for 100. So if government has listened to the views, we could have, that is why initially when I started, I said, you don't do this without negotiation and consultation. Let's sit down and negotiate. Ghanaians know where we have got into. We will give and take. We'll say, well, for this side, let's do it this way. These other people can handle it. But we did all this, and nobody was listening to us. Now it has caused, and I believe people might have died out of this. In fact, one person died only at the time that we were still picketing. If you don't have your medication, as an elderly person, a sick person, you will die. And you have saved towards that. So you apologize, but you can't bring back the problems that you have caused your citizens. And that is why I'm saying we should ensure that we don't do these things again, to come back and apologize. If you apologize, it doesn't take care of. And now there are still even issues about this. Some pensioners have some Euro bonds. They have written letters to the minister. We didn't invest in the local bonds. We invested in the Euro bonds. So please, sit down with us and help us, sort us. No response whatsoever. The minister is not responding. And then you come and apologize when you know there are still other issues that can also bring problems to your citizen. Some of them have CD bonds. We have gone through that. People have Euro bonds. At least sit down with them and let's see what we can be done to enable these pensioners who decided to invest in this Euro bond to also go get some relief. We have locked up investment. People, this is the 11th time we have gone to picket at the ministry, locked up investment holders for 11th time. The ministry is not listening to us. Nobody is calling us. Absolutely nobody is calling us. And then you apologize. And still you are not doing what you should do so that if they get the apology. No, it should reflect in the behavior. That going forward, I would ensure that these things are done in a more humane way. So until that is done, the apology is meaningless unless it is linked with a change of behavior towards your fellow citizen in some of these financial policies that we introduce.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you very much for your time, however brief. Honorable News Officer, are you hearing Dr. Anani Entwi say the murderer expecting an applause for buying you a coffin?
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, and listening and watching my brother Muhammad Amin, Dr. Muhammad Amin Anta, his demeanor does not suggest to me that the apology was sincere at all. In fact, his apology belongs to the rear view. It's contrived. I mean, yes, around this table and outside with many people, when the situation became bad, many people suggested, and in conversations with quite knowledgeable people, they said, look, the situation in which we are requires an honest, candid conversation with the people of this country. For government to come out and tell us what has happened, why we are where we are. Because the situation was getting bad and they were not seeing the way clear. Government said, no, I won't do it. In fact, when Nana Dodonko Akufo-Addo had opportunity to address us, he said no one was going to suffer a haircut. When we were suffering a haircut, we thought he would come and tell us that probably he underestimated the problems confronting us. He didn't do that. It looks like these apologies is just the same thing like try me. Try me was modeled and founded on a perception that if we voted Nana Addo Akufo-Addo into office, things will be different. Things are not different. All the indicators that he inherited are bad. Gary Nimako, they are bad. Now, so if they are bad, what happened? Why have they become so irredeemably bad? You need to engage in honest conversation with the people of this country. And I don't see it. I don't see it. The Bank of Ghana, me and you have read the law. We go to court and defend people. The Bank of Ghana decided to violate the law, print so much and throw into the system in support of government. That singular act threw more than 800,000 people into poverty. If you want definition of poverty, substitute with hardship. Who has apologized? And the apology, will it bring the 800,000 people back into prosperity? So you see, you need, if you want to apologize, an apology is, it's an admission of wrong. It's an admission of guilt. But you must tell the people why, at a point in time, civil society organizations were signing a petition to compel the World Bank not to lend to government again. The government refused to heed to the call of civil society because they were seeing that at the rate at which we were borrowing, a time will come where we will not be able to service our debts. Who borrowed? Not government. All kind of monies. DDEP is precisely because we were unable to service the loans.
Okay.
So, you see, there are problems. Now, what is he apologizing for?
For the hardship.
What hardship?
The reality.
The fact that we're in a junk status?
Unintended hardships.
Is that what he's apologizing for?
They were actually intended.
They were actually intended. Recklessness.
You can't say they were intended.
They're not intended.
They were intended.
Who would do such a thing?
Wait.
Intentionally bring hardship on their people.
Yeah. Let's put it this way. Are we saying that government didn't know the consequences of those actions?
Yes.
I'll take a quick break.
not
I'll be right back for our final. I'll be right back for our final few minutes. We'll be right back.
I am going to check my name and details on the voters register.
What's name? What register?
The Electoral Commission, as part of the preparations for the 2024 general elections, is conducting an exhibition of the voters register from Tuesday 20th August to Tuesday 27th August 2024 between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. daily.
Yes.
Then I need to go and check mine right now.
Yes.
You need to check your personal details on the register, and if need be, put in claims for corrections. You also need to know your polling station. You can also object to the inclusion of persons who are not qualified to be on the register.
The name of your relative who died must be removed from the register.
I need to go check for my name right now.
Yes!
Check.
But you need to know the date and time too.
Check.
Yes, towards the conduct of the 2024 general elections, the Electoral Commission will display the voters' register for public inspection. Make sure you check your details in person during the exhibition of the voters' register from Tuesday 20th August to Tuesday 27th August 2024 between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. daily. Alternatively, registered voters can check their registration details on their phones by dialing *711*51# on all networks. Persons who have lost or misplaced their voter ID cards can go to the exhibition centers to check their registration details. Exhibition officers can help check their details even without their voter ID cards. A qualified voter may object to the name and particulars of a person on the grounds of being a minor, a foreigner, not of sound mind, impersonation, or not a resident of the area.
Check.
Your vote is your future.
Now let me tell you why you should choose Safari Valley as your conference destination.
The new conference building combines modern amenities with the tranquility of nature, providing the perfect backdrop for your next seminar and corporate retreat.
The only conference destination with so many activities. You don't have to travel to visit your tennis club, the gym, or the stables. They have it all.
Enjoy this rooftop viewing deck, basking in the sunlight with the sight of wild animals roaming freely in their natural habitat.
At my break, I'm able to practice my putting.
It's a unique experience that sparks creativity and rejuvenates the mind.
Visit Safari Valley Eco Resort in Ghana, bringing you closer to nature.
At Academic City, we are not just students. We are problem solvers, innovators, and future-ready leaders. We power the future and create groundbreaking technologies ready to tackle real-world challenges head-on. In a world driven by technology, we shape the digital landscape, transforming challenges into opportunities. At the core of strategic thinking and decision-making, we thrive in the dynamic realm of commerce. We evolve into leaders who not only speak, but stand for what's right, forging narratives and stirring the conscience of the world. Embark on a journey with us, where innovation meets education. Academic City, educating future-ready leaders.
Doing never stops until the job is done. Turn your home and business into an internet highway and experience the revolution of working and playing without limits. Visit broadband.mtn.com.gh to sign up for MTN Fiber for home and business today.
This election, ask your favorite politicians about their plans for tackling climate change and improving access to water, sanitation, and hygiene. Let this define who you vote for. At WaterAid, we believe in the future where our leaders prioritize climate change, water, sanitation, and hygiene. Your vote can make this possible.
Thank you very much and welcome back to Newsfile. This is your most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. And I guess you have been listening to Professor Godfred Bokwing, Professor of Finance and Economist, University of Ghana. Yunus Hussaini is lawyer, former MP, Tamale Central. Gary Nemakomafo is Director Legal. NPP, Dr. Edu Ananienchi joined us, convener of the Pensioner Bondholders Forum. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Join me as always on my favorite show, The Law. It's the legal clinic where I assist you to appreciate some law for yourself. We are discussing prosecuting medical negligence. It's becoming an issue in the country, and Albert Jenfi is a legal practitioner, he's an author, he's a law school teacher. He will join us. He's based in Kumasi. He will join us. He just finished prosecuting one such case successfully and winning a whopping amount for the victim involved. So join us to learn how you can gather the evidence and also prosecute a medical negligence situation. So very final comment from our guests. And I'll begin with Professor Bokwin, whom I disagreed with when he said that the consequences are intended.
You can have a policy and talk about the intended consequences and the unintended consequences. I want to believe that at the time government was taking this decision, they knew what was going to happen. They knew. They knew this was going to impose considerable hardship on Ghanaians. Ghanaians also knew, to a large extent, the consequences of these actions. And therefore, there were alternatives in terms of proposals on the table. There were. Government simply failed to listen to Ghanaians. And the approach government adopted in the domestic debt exchange really clearly doesn't suggest that government really, in the immediate, they knew there were going to be hardships.
I'm surprised you are getting support. Me says clearly intended. Ratings agencies, whoever, they cried. And citizens also cried. CSOs, key indicators, were ignored and downplayed.
So let's not, look, something. If Ghana government had reached out to the IMF in 2021, there would have been no need for domestic debt exchange. There would have been no need for debt restructuring. Because in 2021, the IMF had just concluded their Article 4 consultation with Ghana and concluded that our debt was largely sustainable, but at high risk of debt distress. High risk of debt distress necessarily doesn't lead to debt restructuring. Ghana officially entered high-risk debt distress category in 2014. And we went for the IMF program from 2015 to 2019. There was no debt restructuring. It was just because government failed. And what were the bases? It was not driven by the economic fundamentals. I think it was more about pride. It was more about so many other considerations other than the common good.
Okay.
That's how I put it. And that's what resulted. And even when government, we, including myself, we had said way back, even before the president said there will be debt restructuring, but there will be no haircut. We had said way back, including the Imani group, that there is no way Ghana will be able to restore debt sustainability without restructuring its domestic debt.
Okay.
Because if you look at the burden, the domestic debt was contributing more compared to even the external debt.
Okay.
And therefore, there was no way. So it was unavoidable. But the question was, what should be the approach? There should have been clear thresholds. Dr.
Edouard
spoke about that clearly. Even initially, government-owned assessment, they excluded individual bondholders.
Right.
They did.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Bokwin. And a senior of mine at the bar is having a laugh at me that I went on that break to muzzle you from talking about the intended consequences, that I couldn't avoid it. So is it intended consequences or unintended consequences? Yes, Gary.
Well, something, let me say that we all know that there have been some external shocks to the economy. I think that by and large, Prof, I do not think the government will set out to pursue policies that will bring clear hardships onto these people. I do not think.
We knew there were trade-offs, sacrifices in the immediate for probably enjoyment in the future. So you can't say in the immediate, and we knew even the IMF program, fiscal consolidation whether without debt restructuring, was going to impose fiscal cost and adverse distributional effect on Ghanaians in the immediate.
Gary, it's your last word.
For me, what I would say in conclusion.
Gary, if you tempt a professor, that's what happens.
Guys, allow Gary to finish.
Prof, you are my good brother. Me and you had a meeting, say we speak together. Now you went against me. And then now I'm talking my matter to want to bring Prof to come and muffle me out. So, Samson,
and let me tell our listeners and viewers what they are doing right here. The kind of friendship they share behind. It's something very admirable. And Dr. Sribo Kweku of the Electoral Commission has said that don't look at politicians and fight. They chill behind the scenes together. Please.
Happening in the public.
Yeah, Gary, finish.
So in conclusions, let me also add my voice to what the Minister of Finance said. It's a position of government that no government will set out to do things that will bring hardships onto his people.
Right.
And we are sorry. We apologize.
Okay. Yes.
Well, Gabi is a colleague. Gary Nimako is a colleague at the bar. There's mutual respect between us. Even when we disagree, we disagree with respect. I mean, I think he's a lawyer's lawyer.
I can testify to that in the courtroom.
Lawyer's lawyer. Yeah. So that is why, I mean, I can't fight with him. I mean, we can disagree vehemently, but we won't fight. You see, Prof says...
Like today, I have disagreed with my Muslim friend. On his conclusion.
Yeah. And that's a very good friend of yours.
Even though I agree with his findings.
Prof,
Muhammad to what do you call it? What do you call the place?
Shraj.
Okay. Anybody can take it on. He doesn't have to be the one referring.
So Prof says they were intended consequences. That means government was willful in this approach to policy, and especially in mitigating the hardship that will attenuate the policy they were implementing. I will not go that far.
Thank you.
I would say they were reckless.
Oh.
They didn't care about the intended consequences, but they knew that those consequences could come, but they didn't actually care. And that's why
what I understand Prof to say is that if they are taking good advice early enough, they would not have come to the position where they were compelled unavoidably to take this path which brought this consequence.
Samson, Prof is a policy analyst, and anybody who served in public office knows that when you are doing a policy, you look at the consequences that you want to achieve, the intended consequences and the unintended consequences.
All right.
And then you try to mitigate the unintended consequences. So they knew that spending too much money without production, and that is why even when in opposition, they have said that they will move this country from taxation to production because they knew what taxation could do to impose hardship on people. So we should not, Thompson, don't mitigate the sufferings that these people have imposed on us.
All right, thank you.
What I'm saying is that MPP belongs to the rear view. We are looking at their occiput. And in January, a new government will come in to mitigate the hardship.
Thank you, Honorable Yunus Hussaini. And my outfit, as always, is by Konati Clothing. Konati Clothing is at Adenta Shopping Center, Adenta Down. You can call them on 0244 676732. 0244 676732. Konati Clothing. What you wear matters or counts. And the show is also brought to you by the candid sponsorship of Bank of Africa, MTN, Ashesi University, Robert & Sons Optical Services, My Way Insurance, Syntex Tanks, and Flamingo Paints. Simply superior. I'm Samson Ladia Yanine, and this has been Newsfile. And when we say it is your most authoritative news analysis platform, we mean it. Check the trends every Saturday morning. And this show tops it. Thanks because of you. Have a good afternoon.